Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, Capital Markets Analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about lab testing certification programs in cannabis, as well as a local OK Cannabis program. Some of the test results that came out. On the line to help us do that is Dan Chemist with Good CBD Products.
Hey, Chronic, good morning. I'm in Huntington Beach, California this morning, staring at the Pacific Ocean and thinking to myself, yeah, testing is good.
I do like me Huntington Beach. It's a nice area. So this article on Benzinga has Leafly launching a cannabis testing certification program. I just had the pleasure of interviewing Nick Jacobs, Leafly's principal research scientist. So this article talks about having Leafly announcing this certified lab program to identify cannabis labs, other labs that are consistently accurate and compliant. I don't know if that's like a B2B resource. I think it's going to be on Leafly's website at least. So Nick Jacobs said that it's helping people understand that there's much more to the quality of cannabis products than potency alone. So many customers believe that buying the product with the highest testing percentage means that getting the most bang for the buck will lead to brands to shop around with lab testing results. Both you and I, Dan, have seen local labs get shut down for allowing to be shopped around and giving people the highest THC percentage, which has led to winning of cannabis cups and other things. And there's tricks too. If you decrease the humidity and moisture, that will increase the THC percentage. So a lot of times you'll see really crispy bud that's super dry, maybe 4% moisture content, and it's crispy, but it has a higher THC rate.
Sadly, this is a space where you see a lot of the C word, corruption, right? You'd like to think that the whole process is measured and fair. And all it takes is one or two bad actors in a region, and all of a sudden, because if you're a cannabis provider, right, if you're somebody who's making weed, you can't go over and be on the shelf with honest testing and have somebody next to you where they've paid to have, 39%, because again, that'll kill you. That'll kill your sales. So really educating the public, Chronic, I think that's what it's about, because I've seen it so many times. I've gotten so really, really high off weed that was, 14, 15, 16%, whatever.
Yeah, and Nick would agree with you. He says that they've found a wide variation in lab results, most notably the average total THC levels. So there's some blatantly skewed distributions, basically saying that there is pay to play, some corruption, chasing numbers, paying for it. None of that comes as a surprise to a lot of us. I think a lot of cannabis cups are paid for as well, whether it's the testing results or just the outright cups. But I do think that volunteer programs like the OK Cannabis program that launched locally here in Seattle, that randomly pulls products off the shelves and tests them for everything, herbicide, pesticides, all that stuff. And some interesting things I'm expecting to see an organic company that popped for pesticides. So just kind of found out about that through the grapevine. Curious to see what we're going to find out.
Yeah, right. Looking for an advantage. That's the thing in the market. People finding themselves constantly wanting to have some differentiator and all of that with regards to, marketing and branding. And in the end, you got to hold true to that ethos. If you say it's organic, it better be, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's about the transparency and branding and keeping true to yourself and doing what's right, ultimately. So in October, there were a couple that failed. Some of these are just by accident, not necessarily malicious, but there was a cartridge that failed due to heavy metals. Another cartridge, that's pretty consistent across the board for cartridges failing. There's another one in September that failed to pesticides. Another pre-roll that failed to microbials.
I was sitting in Lowell's Cannabis Cafe last night talking with someone who will abstract because of the potential damage to the brand, but they were talking about having found someone counterfeiting using very similar packaging, right down to scanned versions of the logo and logos pulled off of the internet, right? And making counterfeit vape cartridges, right? And that, again, from a testing perspective and just a complex market, there's a lot to be resolved in this space where I, as a consumer, can truly know that what I'm getting is safe and clean and all of that. I think chronic, it's going to require yet more regulation, and that kind of, I don't know, dude, that makes me a little nervous.
Washington State is actually talking about taxing based on THC percentages. So the higher THC, the higher tax. What we need to be focusing on is getting these things tested. In July, there was failures for concentrate due to pesticides, a pre-roll that failed due to microbials, and another pre-roll that failed due to pesticides. So if it's out of sight, out of mind, and a concentrator pre-roll and people are smoking mold and smoking pesticides, heavy metals, all of those things, that's really what needs to be an issue. So maybe it's going to be the branding and shaming other brands in order to do what's right, which is to not have mold, which is to test it beforehand so that there is not a product recall. I think ultimately what we're going to see is some serious kind of consolidation as people shift to organic, to brands that are OK certified or something similar, and going to something where they trust the brand. So it's not going to be just about the highest THC at the lowest price point. It's going to be, okay, well, who do I trust? Because I'm seeing a lot of stuff from vapes to concentrates to pre-rolls, and I don't really want to smoke mold or pesticides or anything else.
Shout out to California. I have yet to have what I would consider a crappy pre-roll. Okay. And I've been, deeply enmeshed in the culture here for a little bit. And what I keep seeing, Josh, is that it's like they're, it's fresher. It seems to be better work. It's really curious to me because, again, in Washington, let's face it, we might have burned some floor weed a couple of times. We might have.
Yeah, it's interesting some of the cafes that you've gone to and how they have their revenue stream is free entrance, but the price per pre-roll is $20-$25. I don't know if that's sustainable. They may have to have a membership fee and then lower the price, or even allow a BYOB for a different scale or tier. But the prices down there are expensive. I saw $60 grams of concentrate initially. This is a year or two ago. And so that's got to kind of come down with the rest of the market, with trends, starting at $30 a gram on flower and coming down to reality at, $8, $9, $10, depending on the quality.
I was reflecting on my experience at Lowell's, and one of the things that was interesting to me is I burned a lot of bread yesterday, but I did it gleefully, right? So I don't feel, I guess, Josh, the lens that I find myself looking at it through is that lens of, like, if I went and bought some really good champagne at a really nice restaurant, I would expect that $35 bottle is $75, right? And I would be happy to pay it because of the moment and the experience. So I'm normally pretty frugal. But Lowell's did such a good job of meeting the bar as a cafe and as a hangout and as a speakeasy that I actually find myself, I guess, completely at ease with their pricing. And I really enjoyed it. I also think as a business model, it's interesting. It's an example of a way where if you're vending cannabis, you can actually achieve a much higher margin. Right? I don't know all of the background yet, how Lowell's came to be and all of that. I'm going to figure that out. But here's the thing. Yeah, their pre-roll was $25, $29 with tax. I was happy to pay it. Was it a $29 pre-roll? I don't know. Was it, is a $10 pre-roll worth $10, right? But I was happy to pay it because of the rest of the experience. So that speaks to me.
So I definitely think that tourism is going to help some of these businesses. On the waterfront in Seattle, we have restaurants that are solely stayed in business by tourism alone. The Crab Shack is a perfect example. Locals don't go to that particular franchise location in Seattle. It's just tourism. And so if, Lowell's or some of these other places can keep the volume up with tourism, then they'll stay in business. Otherwise, they're going to have to change their model. We're just going to have to wait and find out. With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. By the way, if you enjoy the content, please show your support with the cushy gesture of $4.20 a month on the Talking Hedges Patreon page. This will kind of help you spread the word. I've been asked to speak all over the world, from Toronto and Colombia, Spain, Miami, all over, Tokyo. But your support's important to me. I haven't monetized the podcast. I want to be as authentic and transparent as possible. I want to avoid conflicts of interest, or even the perception of paid opinions. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or pay me on the Talking Hedges Patreon page, or don't, and I'm out.